And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
You're lying!
2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said, you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
Guys, this was a disaster. It was horrendous. It was worse than I thought. Dana Bash, shout out to Dana Bash on CNN, because she actually did ask pretty tough questions. She asked a lot of the questions we need to know. They asked about the cognitive decline of Joe Biden. They asked about Tim Walz and his stolen valor, the DUI. They asked about immigration and where the hell you been these last 3.5 years. They went in on her flip-flop polywhopping, just jumping wherever, to leapfrogging or whatever pad she feels like is still floating, because that's all she cares about. She definitely ain't going down with no ship. She gonna change positions if she feels like it benefits her. So this interview was kind of long. I'm gonna chop this up. I'm gonna react to it. I'm actually reacting to Benny Johnson. Shout out to one of the YouTube content creator goats, Benny Johnson. So I'm actually reacting to his live stream of it. Without further ado, let's get into it.
The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is
about Trump already,
diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Exactly.
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number.
I just want to point out, Kamala Harris is already in office, so what do you mean day one? This is like day 1,000 something.
Number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car.
Kamala Harris voted against a bill that would have allowed the doubling of the child tax credit under the Trump administration. Just pointing that out.
Car seat to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
Besides the child tax credit, Kamala Harris just started talking about Donald Trump and how she's better than him and she's going to invest and she's going to improve the housing market. Like how? How are you going to do any of this? Like she hasn't explained really anything. If you're a person who's watching this interview and you feel like that was a great answer, what the hell's wrong with you? You can't even, I bet you can't go back and explain what she's going to do. Like, well, she's going to improve the middle class. How the hell is she going to do that? She didn't even explain it. That's the whole point of these interviews, is so you can explain what the hell you're talking about. It's not so you can give these vague political answers. This is one of the reasons why when people say they don't like Donald Trump because he doesn't have as much experience in this political realm. Well, yeah, no ish. A lot of these people in politics are full of crap and never accomplish anything. Just look at Sleepy Joe Biden, where the only thing he managed to accomplish is destroying the economy for the middle class and, you know, all the people who need to actually pay bills. The people keep talking about GDP and all this stuff. Big corporations and them making a ton of money isn't going to be enough for everybody else to put food on their table.
You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the
Good
fact
question,
that
Dana.
when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. We were all people.
That's because y'all wanted to shut down the economy. Remember, like then when Donald Trump said, let's open the economy back up, and then y'all said, no, let's close it. Remember, Gavin Newsom kept his economy closed out in California until October, from January until October. That was a long time. And they had some of the worst job loss out there in California because of that.
People a day were dying because of the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis.
Oh, it's Trump's fault again.
When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to...
I mean, it wasn't like the prices weren't bad during the Trump administration the entire time. Even when all the pandemic stuff happened, unless you talk about hand sanitizer, right? Maybe some tissue paper rolls was higher price, but that's about it. The entire time, it went up after Joe Biden took office.
Rescue America, and today we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world.
In other words, prices are still going up.
You are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people
And
know it, I
going
know
up.
it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home.
Kamala Harris has already been destroyed on this whole price gouging fallacy, okay? It's not price gouging if you have inflation. It would be price gouging if you didn't have inflation and the prices went up. Since the prices, since inflation existed and the prices went up with it, it is therefore not price gouging. It makes absolutely zero sense, and she's already been blasted about this by her fellow Democrats. In addition to that, she's mentioned the child tax credit again, which she just tried to copy the Trump administration's increase on the child tax credit. They said $5,000, she said $6,000. And lastly, the whole thing about the $25,000 down payment. So down payment assistance has already existed for a long time. That's not the issue. The issue is that if you grant it to everybody, then they just start factoring that into the cost. So it effectively just raised the price of the house, the houses, by $25,000 because they know, well, everybody's got a free $25,000, so they already see that as free money. In order for programs like this to be effective, they have to be limited programs. It can't be everybody gets an extra $25,000. Otherwise, soon you're going to have to be increasing that even further to 50,000, 100,000. It's never going to stop.
You have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Good question.
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought
the
inflation
prices,
down to
inflation
less than
got
3%.
worse. Wow.
The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate.
So Trump is the one who cut that first. Roll the clip.
Will cap cost at just $35 a month per type of insulin, and some plans may offer it free. So for everybody who's getting ripped off and paying tremendous prices, senior citizens, is a tremendous saving.
It is President Biden and I that took on Big Pharma and finally capped the cost of insulin for our seniors at $35 a month. But Donald Trump and his running mate intend to get rid of our $35 cap on insulin.
When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020. that
I don't remember
did
that.
not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
You're lying.
2019, I
Roll
believe.
somebody.
in a
Look,
town-
roll the clip.
The fact check bottom line, Abby, is that she did not actually make clear at a 2020 debate that she had changed her previous support for a fracking ban. So let me take you through this kind of saga. So here's what she said at a CNN climate town hall in 2019 on the subject of a fracking ban.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
That was quite clear. So she ended her 2020 presidential run in December 2019. The only debate she participated in 2020 was the general election debate with then Vice President Mike Pence. And I went over the transcript of that debate tonight. Nowhere in there does she make clear that she had abandoned her previous support for a fracking ban. Rather, she repeated that Joe Biden, the head of the Democratic ticket at the time, would himself not ban fracking. So listen to what she actually said in that 2020 debate.
Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking.
So it makes perfect sense that at the time she was speaking on behalf of Biden, the president, not the vice president, sets administration policy. But maybe other people feel differently. I certainly did not hear anywhere in there Kamala Harris saying that she personally had abandoned her previously expressed 2019 view. Rather, again, she was speaking for Joe Biden.
Even Donna Bash called her out. Let me roll it back a little bit because she calls her out. One sec, right there. Okay.
I believe in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And
this is basically what Kamala Harris tried to do majority of this interview is say, well, I may have a different policy position, but I still believe the same things. I just have a different policy on how I would handle it. Wouldn't that be an indication that you don't know what the hell she's going to do? Like Donald Trump said that these people love to go back to what they originally thought. And for Kamala Harris, I believe that would be the case because a bunch of far leftists are the ones controlling Joe Biden. They're his little puppet masters controlling him. Kamala Harris is going to get up in there and do the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, she's already in there doing the damn same thing as her puppet masters demand of her.
Was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
what I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking. Okay.
Basically, Kamala Harris, she was up in there. Other people decided what to do, and she just went with it. That's all it was. Kamala Harris doesn't have policy positions. Again, not on her website. Kamala Harris's website is a perfect personification of what the Democrat Party has become. Just a bunch of people with a bunch of money, a bunch of donors, no policies, no positions, no morals, no ethics, no values, no nothing, no substance. She is a chameleon. Her face is blank. There's nothing there. Her palette is totally clear. And I'm shocked that Dana Bash really stuck it to Kamala Harris, at least so far. Let's keep going.
Another issue, big one, is immigration. Mm-hmm. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
northern part of Central
Look,
America.
She won't call her the borders are so bad. I know she wants to.
Northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. Mm-hmm. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this.
What you mean it reduced? I don't think nobody noticed. Like, it wasn't until... So this is the order of operations. Donald Trump had his executive orders in, remain in Mexico, he's building a wall, all of that stuff. Joe Biden takes office. The first day, he takes all that stuff away. A couple years down the line, they have some border bill that they know is not going to pass that allows like full amnesty, 5,000 illegals per day. Congress refuses to pass it. Then Joe Biden finally takes executive order. He puts the same order in place, not as good as what Trump had, but he puts a different order in place to lock it down.
That Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported.
Years later.
Which I support.
Years later.
And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
See, this is why they need to debate on September 10th. Count your days, Kamala, because it's over for you. When Donald Trump gets to smoke you on this point that you keep lying about, it's going to be glorious, because this was a bad bill. Like, they proposed tons of bills. They don't pass all kinds of bills. The Democrats don't pass bills all the time. So this isn't, you can't just blame Trump. He's not even in office. Like, this doesn't make sense. If Trump got so much pull just calling people, how come you don't got no pull? You the VP. You can't make Joe Biden do nothing as vice president, as his right-hand person?
Whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations.
So she wants to like go into all this stuff about who she prosecuted, but that has nothing to do with like the people that's crossing the border now. Are you prosecuting people now? Like, because it seems to me like everybody just walking in and committing crimes. In some cases, these people just get to walk free, no bail.
How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal.
This means that Kamala Harris, like, she's going to talk in circles, so I'm not going to play everything she says, but this basically means that it doesn't matter what her policy positions are. She's going to make some stupid excuse. Well, I still have the same values, but, you know, I just view different policies a little bit differently. How do you know you're not going to, how do we know you're not going to view them differently again tomorrow? And the day after that and the day after that? Like, you got to have some firm stances somewhere, Kamala. But again, policy website, no policies. She has no firm stances.
What I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
same old tired playbook. Next question, please. That's it?
No, there's a first cackle.
Okay.
First cackle.
She, you know what that was? She don't want to answer that question. She don't want to talk about her heritage because she knows she about to be exposed. Like, Kamala Harris has some Jamaican heritage, as in by birthright, but not by actual lineage. Okay, so there's no blood that's like an African American blood ancestor. Like, she has Irish and Hindu. Dad came, her grandfather came from somewhere else and had a child in Jamaica. That's the only link to possible blackness that she has, which is phony. It's fake, because this person was Irish, came here, got with an Indian, and boom, there goes Kamala daddy. The mom is just straight up Indian. So you basically got 75% Indian, 25% Irish, no African American. That's why she don't got shit to say.
I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all,
He lied.
I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And
you didn't answer the
idea
question.
that you said that you were in war.
Yeah.
Did you misspeak, as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English you told me, my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
I just, one other question, because again, this is all new.
Yeah.
I mean, this was not, however many days ago, this was not on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving.
Jeez.
Look, I got to roll the clip. So for those who don't know, this guy had ran for Congress, and he just straight up had a campaign that lied their ass off in order to try to get him elected. It was pretty freaking ridiculous. It's exactly what they're doing right now. Take a look.
DUI arrest. This is a story about someone getting a DUI arrest, and then his campaign repeatedly misleading and giving false statements to the public about it. So let's just go to the facts of that 1995 arrest first, okay? Walz was speeding over 95 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. He failed a field sobriety test that was administered by a state trooper. He then admitted in court that he had been drinking. He was transported to a local hospital for a blood test that showed he had a blood alcohol level of 0.128, and that was above the state legal limit. He then took a plea deal where he pled guilty to a reckless driving charge. Now, those are the facts. That's from police records, that's from court records, and that all is completely undisputed.
All right, so that is clear, the idea of what happened. What did his congressional campaign actually say happened?
So let's fast forward to 2006. He's in a tight congressional race. He is running for Congress. This was a Republican-held district that he was trying to flip, and then a local Republican blog puts up that he had this arrest for drunk driving. Now, I'm going to give you sort of the bullets of what his campaign said about that. The campaign citing Walz claimed that he had not been drinking and driving. They attributed his failed field sobriety test to hearing loss from his time in the National Guard, not alcohol. The campaign falsely said that he drove himself to the station, that he was allowed to drive home. They said the DUI charges were dropped because they were unfounded, and the campaign even faulted this trooper for saying that he didn't realize that Walz had hearing impairment. They claimed a judge actually chastised the state trooper for it. Now take a look at just one statement that his campaign put out. They said he, quote, couldn't understand what the trooper was telling him during the field sobriety test, and the trooper refused to speak up. The DUI charges were dropped for a reason. The judge would not have dismissed them if there were anything to him. Tim drove to the station that night and drove home afterwards. I don't think the trooper would have allowed that if there had been a problem. So None of what they said in that 2006 race was true at all, as we saw in just looking at those details of the 1995 arrest.
This guy is a crook. He's doing the same thing. And it's like nobody wants to question him. They're like, well, as long as it's not Trump. What if you had somebody that was just like Trump except 10 times worse? You ever thought about that? Like, these people think Trump is like truly Hitler because that's what the news made him out to be. But I can assure you that there's a lot of people who are a lot worse. We're looking at them on the screen right now.
What do you say to voters who
smokes.
aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Oh my God.
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
Of course, deflect. Like, this guy doesn't want to talk about the fact that his campaign lied. It's not about like demeaning your military service. It's not about you and your wife's treatment, abortion bans. It's about the fact that you're lying in order to get in office. 3 things were pointed out that you lied about. Kamala Harris was pointed out flip-flopping. You're just making yourself out to be a straight up liar. Which one do you guys think is worse?
You were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all.
Whoa.
Not at all. I have
Whoa.
served with President Biden
No way.
for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal.
I mean, this
to
dude
the
was
American
falling apart. What are you talking
And I
about?
have spent
He is falling
hours
apart.
upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so,
Of course, you had to bring
one,
Trump up. Of course.
I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And 2, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz for president of the United States and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago. Where
This lady should be called the deflector in chief rather than what she's going for, which is commander in chief, because she sure knows how to deflect a lot. Like, lady, Joe Biden is a walking cadaver. He's a zombie. And all he does is spend all his last days in office on the beach. You got people out there getting killed. People can't afford groceries. Joe Biden just up there like every day. It is insane. And she's talking about to have the audacity to defend this. I understand you don't want to just throw the man under the bus, but you could say like, okay, maybe there was some issues that were a little more serious than I thought that were exposed during that debate. And, you know, you can at least lie. If you're going to lie better. Say that, you know what? That debate was the first time I ever saw Joe Biden like that. That's what some other people said. I think it was the FBI director or something said something like that. He straight up lied, but I don't know which lie is worse. So who am I kidding? All of their lies are terrible. All right, guys, I'm going to close out here with Scott Jennings of CNN, okay, basically the only conservative person over there, and show you his thoughts on this interview, because the rest of the panel basically just gushed and said it was like the greatest thing ever, because, I mean, that's what they always do. They're paid propagandists. I guess that's what they're paid to do. Scott Jennings is obviously being paid to be a contrarian, and he does a great job of that because all he has to do is tell the truth.
And I was sort of watching this, you know, holistically. What is she saying? What does she look like? What's on the screen? So at the beginning, when she's talking about Biden and their record, our screen said This is called the Chiron, the headline at the bottom. It said, Harris stands by Biden administration economic record. She is making it clear that she will embrace and be a continuation of Biden's economic policy, his record, what they've done. She offered no remorse, no regrets, no introspection about anything they've done. She continued to blame inflation on this fantasy price gouging idea. She had no additional thoughts on the economic situation in the country or what they've done beyond just saying, Joe Biden and I have done a great job. Now, if I were the Trump people, I would be salivating over the idea that that's how they are going to run the race. I don't believe it's tenable. I also thought it was interesting that she didn't take any responsibility at the end for telling the American people that Joe Biden was fine and he was strong. When we all know that's not true. That's why he's out of the race, and she's still standing by the idea that he was fine and he's strong and that he's fine today. Nobody believes that, and I just think at some point, so why isn't he running?
Because he's too old. Point blank.
She just said that she believes that he's fine and he's strong. Delusional, first off, but then he asked why you're not in the race. Well, he's too old. If he's too old, then how is he still strong? Like, what the hell does that even mean? Like, too old, there's a reason why being old is a problem. It's not because it's just something that people just look at you differently when you're old. You actually do go on the decline as you age, and Joe Biden declined like hell as he aged. It just is what it is. The dude is in his 80s. I'd imagine a lot of people don't even live to be in their 80s. So it makes sense. This lady's just being delusional for some reason. Like, girls, just shut the hell up.
The reason why Donald Trump probably shouldn't be running, because he's too old and out of touch.
I think most Americans know the truth, and when you're running to be president and you're willing to look them in the face and tell them something they know that you know is not true, it does speak a little bit to your character.
Wow, whoever that chick is really need to slap herself. But this is just another one of those examples. This is exactly why they keep Kamala off the screen, off of interviews, because this interview was brutal. Dana Bash brought up a lot, and I mean a lot of damning stuff against Kamala Harris. Now, I will say that she was pretty soft on them. She didn't really push back on them. She asked good questions, but she didn't really like challenge when they were obviously BSing, like especially about the border. Like, I'm tired of this freaking border bill. It was years. Y'all reversed all the Trump policies. I'm not trying to hear it. Majority of Americans are not buying that. Like, if you a Democrat and you believe that the Democrats are trying to be tough on the border and secure the border, then you are a freaking idiot, because that's just stupid. They said that they were going to suspend deportations and that they were going to reverse all of Trump's border policies, which they did. No border walls, etc. So and Kamala Harris has flip-flopped on the issue. So to believe Kamala Harris all of a sudden is just cognitive dissonance at best and just foolery at worst. I don't anticipate Kamala Harris is going to be doing any more of these anytime soon. She's already stuck in this debate, and honestly, I still think she might pull out of that. I already posted a video about that, so check that out if you haven't already. You know, the one where she tried to change the rules and ABC denied that, so there's an update on that. Be sure to check that out. But let me know what you guys think about this interview. Do you think that this actually helped the Harris campaign, or do you think that less people are going to respect her after watching this? I do think that a lot of those independent types are going to feel like, this was pretty flaky. It made, again, Kamala Harris look like she's a flip-flop pollywop, okay, a leapfrog, and it made Tim Walz look like a lying piece of garbage. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
With a taped. It was a taped. We're doing it live. Why are we doing it live and she's doing it taped? But
that's right. He's real.
But she was sitting behind that desk, this massive desk, and she didn't look like a leader to me, I'll be honest. I don't see her negotiating with President Xi of China. I don't see her with Kim Jong-un like we did.